Sensational defeat of Chelsea by Ipswich. Manchester United on the verge of being knocked out of the Premier League. Another humiliation for the Mancunians. English media are writing about Cristiano Ronaldo's transfer to Manchester City. Florentino Perez will sign Erling Haaland, even if he can't sell Vinicius. Barcelona's first transfer in the winter window. And the new coach of Milan. We'll discuss this and more today. This is Dose of Football with the top 10. The hottest news up to this hour. Friends, New Year's already today, and I sincerely congratulate you all. I wish in the year 2025 as much good as possible, but most importantly, peaceful sky above your heads. And of course, I suggest you gather 5,000 likes under this video to appear in the new year as soon as possible. And according to our good tradition, I wish you a pleasant appetite and a pleasant viewing. Atletico Madrid continues to impress with its results, demonstrating that the team is ready to fight for the championship in La Liga. The last match against Barcelona became a characteristic comeback to the roots of the club, which many remember for its ability to build a reliable defense and win victories on character. And there's a bit of disappointment among the fans. The main thing is that the team took 3 points. There's a bit of disappointment among the fans. The key takeaway is that the team secured 3 points, which bodes well for the Madridistas in the championship standings. The main competitors and the situation in the championship is turning out well for the Madridistas. The main competitors, Barcelona and Real Madrid, are going through difficult times. The Catalans, despite a good start to the season, lack the resources to cope with the pressure on all fronts. The squad looks overly limited, especially when it comes to replacing key players. Real Madrid, in turn, is facing problems with the attack and instability of results, which has been discussed in previous issues. All this creates ideal conditions for Atletico to once again claim the La Liga gold. The key figure of this team is Antoine Griezmann. The Frenchman continues to impress with his stability and professionalism, considering his young age. In the first half of the season, he has already scored a dozen decisive actions, which once again proves his indispensability. However, this season could be Griezmann's last in Atletico's football. According to insiders, the forward is considering the possibility of ending his career in Europe and moving to the United States of America to try his hand at Major League Soccer. The greatest interest in the player is shown by Los Angeles, which is ready to activate the footballer's clause for 10 million euros. The team already includes Griezmann's former France teammates, Hugo Lloris and Olivier Giroud. They are actively persuading their compatriot to join their project, which increases the chances of Griezmann's move to Los Angeles. If the transfer happens, it will be significant not only for Atletico, but also for Major League Soccer, which continues to attract world football stars. For Antoine himself, this will be an opportunity to enjoy the last years of his career in a relaxed atmosphere, far from the high expectations of European championships. Chelsea unexpectedly lost points again. The Blues lost to Ipswich with a score of 0-2. Chelsea performed decently and could have secured at least a draw, if not a win. The Blues almost scored 2 points, but alas, they couldn't convert them into goals. João Felicia's goal was not recorded in the statistics. The Portuguese stood out, breaking into Ipswich's offside, and opened the score, thanks to a simply brilliant penalty, drawn almost on the spot. In our telecast, you can, and even should, watch this moment, as well as reviews of all yesterday's top matches. In Zelatate, you can find the link in the pinned comment and in the description. By the way, you can also visit my Instagram. Under the latest post there, I've summed up the results of the past year and plans for the coming year. Well, the keeper Jurgensen barely slipped, just a bit, slightly nudged the falling Ipswich. He definitely wouldn't have fallen if he wanted to, but he embellished it beautifully and went down. The referee seemed to notice something off, and went to check the video assistant referee, but still awarded a penalty. If such contact is considered a foul, then you can play football like that. You run with the ball into the penalty area and look for the slightest touch from a defender or goalkeeper. Some, by the way, are already doing this. And with such follies, the robbers only exacerbate the already complicated trend. Ipswich fervently celebrated the victory. A circle of honor, standing ovations, and similar gestures. Ed Sheeran was so elated that his hugs nearly suffocated someone, and still didn't spill beer from the bottle. That's what I understand. Ipswich's first Premier League home win in 2002. Easy to understand. Well, And we move on to the central match of the tour. Manchester United lost to Newcastle United yesterday, without any chances. MU was not even visible on the field in the first half of the game. They scored twice in the first 20 minutes, and then they could have added more. But United at least avoided a rout. There were only about 7 points left to the relegation zone. With such a game, there is every chance to win the championship next season. MU's defense is non-existent. In the case of the second goal, the Incas gave Newcastle so much space that it seemed as if they had been undercut by Geordie after the cut. But no, Newcastle scored after a regular positional attack. MU needs a restructuring, no other way. Amorim won't fix anything with this lineup. If anyone expected the Portuguese to come and the team would immediately turn into a force. Since Ten Hag is such a terrible coach and understands nothing about football, I'm in a hurry to disappoint you. Chelsea's policy of buying young players remains relevant. The team's success under Enzo Maresca has convinced the Blues leadership that everything is going well. And the Pens are already planning new winter transfers. Naturally, some players will have to be sold, including to finance the transfers of Ben Chilwell, who is playing in the League Cup, will definitely leave the team. They tried to sell him in the summer, but couldn't find a buyer who would satisfy the player himself. In half a year, the Englishman's agent should have selected a few options for him. The defender is not bad, he just doesn't fit Maresca's style. Cesaro Cazorla will likely leave the team. Halfback will return to Italy. Several Serie A clubs want to sign him. Next, Corny Chukwuemeka will be sent off. VMK, the talented halfback from Aston Villa, hasn't played in the current American Premier League season. And at one time, Barcelona was interested in him. They obtained around 50 million euros for him. They can buy a lot with these 50 million euros. They can buy a new forward with this money. Journalist Santi Auna from Food Mercata writes that the Londoners have set their sights on Randall Colomani from Farson German. The Princes will gladly sell the Frenchman, who is not playing under Luis Enrique. But why does Chelsea need him? The Blues already have an excess of wingers and forwards. Christopher Nkunku and Joao Felix, with their large salaries, are clearly leaving earlier than expected. Even after a hat trick in the Conference League, Mark Gio is not getting practice in the Premier League. Why do they need refrigerators too? I hope the Frenchman will reject the Blues' offer if he gets it. 2 consecutive failed transfers threaten to ruin Randall's career. The publication writes that Chelsea plans to strengthen the defense this summer. At least there's some logic in that. The Blues have already made Dina Hayson and Ilya Zabarnov from Bournemouth their targets. Both have great potential. Both have already shown themselves in the American Premier League. Although at Chelsea with that competition, they will have to bite the dust to break into the main team. Manchester City is preparing a major overhaul. After it, the club will be unrecognizable. The legends of the city's greatest era will leave. New faces will appear in their place. According to Tim Tolk, Kevin is leaning towards saying goodbye to the citizens. Most likely, Bill Gates will change the prescription in the summer when his contract ends. Out of all possible options, he prefers to move to Major League Soccer. Despite lucrative offers from Saudi Arabia, KDB remains devoted to American culture and enjoys spending holidays in the United States. Therefore, 200 million euros a year still impresses him regardless. Personally, I'm still impressed by 200 million euros a year. Personally, I wouldn't mind watching De Bruyne for another year in the top championships. Even better if beyond the boundaries of the Premier League. What options might there be in Europe? Considering that Kevin will become a free agent, a real battle will unfold for him. Paris Saint-Germain wouldn't mind a player who can create something out of nothing. Barca is also likely keeping an eye on the situation, despite having a full complement of attacking midfielders. Kevin would also be welcome in Italy. Perhaps the A-Series is the best choice for a veteran. City is meanwhile looking for a replacement for the Belgian. According to reports, the citizens' choice fell on Jamal Musiala, and it happened quite a while ago. Christian Falk wrote about interest in the German back in July, but now City's reasons are not limited to just one interest. Musiala has not yet extended his Bayern contract, despite ongoing negotiations for over 6 months. Jamal, who briefly grew up in England, has dreamed of playing in the Premier League since he was a child. Moreover, his move may be influenced by the probable exits of Alphonso Davies and Joshua Kimmich. Munich will in no way agree with Musiala's salary, contract term, and buyouts. All the key points, not some minor details. Bavaria sees the semifinalist as a key player for the next 10 years. Well, City is offering him the same role. A substitute role for Kevin De Bruyne? This is no joke. Favorite player of Musha Lionel Messi. He never mentioned it, but it's clear and simple from his style of play, particularly his dribbling. And of course, it will be difficult for Jamal to refuse the coach with whom Messi scored 91 goals in a year and gave 22 assists. Milan fired Paulo Fonseca. For some reason, the decision partially depended on the outcome of the game with Roma. One match should not change anything. Secondly, despite the negative information background, the team showed decent football and outplayed Roma. It just didn't work out with the implementation. Rossoneri scored less than they should have. The coach said goodbye to the team. Coaching Milan was an honor for me. I appreciate everyone and thank you for the respect and support. In summary, the results are mediocre. 8th place in Series A, 8 points away from the Champions League zone, and 14 from the top spot. Under Fonseca, Milan had one of the best defenses in Serie A, but the team scored too little. The same problem as Juventus. Fonseca was also unfortunate in his dealings with the press. The press was on his neck almost from the first days. Moreover, Paulo did not behave like Luis Enrique. He did not send media workers an open text. I think the reason lies in the club's management. The bosses did not have a single opinion on Fonseca, and they appointed him at the last moment as they dragged on with the choice of a coach. Juventus motto is also in the middle of the table. The results are also so-so, but no one is thinking of firing Motto. After all, Turin's bosses know Thiago is rebuilding, likely even constructing a team from the ground up. And the same was expected from Fonseca. His football is the opposite of what Milan showed under Stefano Pioli. The chaos in the leadership beautifully underlines the choice of a replacement for Fonseca. So, according to Alfred Pirula, the Devils turned to Maurizio Sarri, but the coach, who is friendly with the journalist, sent them further away because nerves are more important, especially since Sarri is not young anymore. In the end, Milan appointed Sergei Conceição, a coach of a different, excellent type from Sarri. How was the coach chosen in Milan? Did they draw straws? Did they Google a list of free coaches? Or did they throw a dice to decide who to make an offer to? Well, honestly, Conceição isn't a bad option. It's stiffer, more practical, more vertical than Afanasiewski. With him, the team partially rolled back to the times of Pioli. The results are improving. His football is closer and more understandable to most players. Another thing is that with such leadership, the long-term prospects of Conceição are still in doubt. Rome is searching for a new coach. Claudio Ranieri will become a member of the board after the end of the season. Ranieri wants to make his successor an experienced coach. The club's management is primarily studying Italians: Vincenzo Montella, Massimiliano Allegri, Carlo Ancelotti. Romans are looking for a coach who will attract fans to the stands and build a long-term project. Ancelotti is well liked by the club bosses. A hype variant literally screaming that Roma will become a full-fledged grand and will fight for the Scudetto. The club owners and African love to show their ambitions. But Ranieri was appointed for a completely different reason: to appease the disgruntled fans. Still, Claudio is a club legend, and it's simply impossible not to respect the Italian. Inviting Ancelotti will solve two problems at once. Apparently, besides a solid coaching career with many trophies under his belt, Carlo also has 8 years with Roma as a footballer. All that's left is to agree. Only Carlo's father's not going anywhere from Real. But of course, they can ask him to leave. Because Florentino Perez dreams of appointing Xabi Alonso, and the results and Ancelotti's fresh words about Roma. Now many are talking about Roma, and Ancelotti's fresh words about Roma. Now many are talking about Roma. But I am very happy here. Ranieri is my friend. Obviously, I am very attached to Roma, with which I have always had beautiful memories. But between words and deeds is a whole sea. I have a contract for another 2 years, but the contract can be broken and it can be extended. In short, everything depends on whether Alonso comes to Madrid. If we lose such a sympathetic buyer, then there will be all chances to see the progress of Roma, which has been topping for several seasons in a row in the same place. Will Real be my last team in the national team? I like to train every day. Will Real be my last team? I like to train every day, so the topic of the national team is difficult for me. Until recently, Ancelotti said that Madrid will definitely be his last team. And look here, who knows? Good sign for Roma. Generally speaking, Florentino Perez established a dictatorship at Real Madrid. All key decisions are made personally by the president of the club, and he should not be contradicted. Unhappy ones are simply fired. There would probably be more of them if it weren't for the successes of the Madrid team under Florentino. Perez stands his ground to the end, even if the rest of the management disagrees with him. So, ex-scout Manolo Romero revealed that in his time, Real had to choose between buying Ronaldinho and David Beckham. Everyone was for Ronnie except Perez. And in the end, the club signed Bex. In other words, Perez's position determines everything. Many were against the transfer of Kylian Mbappe, but Perez believed in the Frenchman and is now determined to make him a key player of the team. The same Manolo announced this, discussing the interest in Vinicius from Saudi clubs. I was sure he would leave. If an offer comes in over 300 million, I'm sure Florentino will sell him. He'll even personally drive him to the airport in his own car. 300 million is an enormous sum. I think Florentino's favorite will be Mbappe. He's pursued him for 7 years, and if Vinicius leaves, expect a new forward in Real. Mbappe can just take his favorite position on the left flank. It seems that there is no such strong need in the new nine. But in his time, it was not in Beckham in whose position Luis Figo played. However, Manuela Romero said Perez interfered even in Holland. He's stuck on Holland, and he'll bring Holland, you'll see. I'm convinced if Florentino wants, he will sign Holland. The ex-scout of Madrid noted that the transfer is possible, even if Vinny does not go to play for conditional Al-Ahly. For Erling, Perez might sell Rodrigo, despite the Brazilian's loyalty and successful play on the home flank in recent years. Why does Perez still dream of assembling a working version of the Galacticos? Seems like an open-ended gesture. Besides, the initial try wasn't a total failure. Then Real won a decent number of trophies. They just expected more for the amount they spent. Especially compared to Barcelona's successes, which thrived without such purchases. Perhaps Perez is planning to learn from past mistakes and not only recruit Mbappe to Holland in attack, but also fighters like Valverde, so as not to lose reliability. Frenkie de Jong's career at Barcelona could end soon. The Dutchman proved to be a poor investment. He had a good period in Catalonia during Ronald Koeman's time, when he was used in the number 10 position, but he never managed to become Barcelona's playmaker under Frenkie. Meanwhile, the former president of the Catalans put his successor in a difficult position by signing a huge contract with the Dutch midfielder. Now, taking into account deferred payments, Barca is forced to pay De Jong 35 million per season. This is the highest salary in La Liga, on par with Kylian Mbappe. Only the Frenchman has real returns in the form of goals and image rights revenues. But with the Dutchman, it's like getting milk from a goat. Neither on the field nor beyond his limits, he does not represent any force. The ultimatum from the leadership has long been looming. And, judging by everything is going to the fact that Frenkie will be sold to Saudi Arabia. Barcelona plans to sign an Arsenal star instead of him, according to Catalan media. Thomas Partey's contract with the Gunners ends at the end of this season. No extension has been discussed yet. If the parties do not find a common denominator, the Catalans will happily seize the moment and sign the player as a free agent. Transfers from Arsenal to Barcelona rarely ended badly for the Catalans. The Blaugrana invited legends Thierry Henry and Cesc Fabregas, who performed well in the Barcelona squad. Recently, Barcelona acquired Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang from Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, after the player and Spanish manager couldn't agree. The forward arrived mid-season and scored more than 10 goals, helping Barcelona to win the championship. Then he was sold to Chelsea for a good amount of money. Overall, it was a great transfer, regardless of the player's age. I think the same will be expected of Thomas Partey if he moves to the Catalan capital. He certainly won't become a team legend, but he will definitely contribute to Barcelona's victories. In any case, it will be much more effective and cheaper than Frenkie de Jong. Even though these players play different positions on the field, Manchester United is planning a restructuring. Until recently, the Red Devils management had a list of 10 indispensable players. But in a recent interview, Fabrizio Romano stated that there are even fewer such players. True, the journalist did not give specifics, but it's easy to guess. First and foremost, United will hold on to linear anthropometry, A talent, technique, age. No one will sell him. Manuel Ugarte, too. Like Joro, he just joined the team. Plus, unlike many club players, Uruguay is not familiar with injuries, if not at all. Matthias de Ligt will also not be sold. He quickly recommended himself to the team. Plus, he is young and with the right mentality, and beastly physics and speed. Perfectly suitable for the English Premier League. Hobie Mainu, a talent from the academy, is extremely technical and has a great future. Amadzilo shone at Amarami, while the best player at the Portuguese. Anana is top on foot game, recently good on the ribbon, closes the position let on, and relieves from a headache. Haaland significantly increased at Amarami. Recently bought, plus young and promising. I'm sure they expected me to name Lisandro Martinez, but considering the number of injuries lately, I wouldn't guarantee that they won't sell him. But I'm sure they'll salute Casemiro if they get a suitable offer. And of course, the Brazilian will accept him. And he won't continue to fight for a place in the start, as he calls it. As journalist Bruno Andrade told, everything is possible to arrange a transfer. How healthy it is that the composition of all this is possible to organize a transfer. How healthy that the composition of this team is not determined by the management of Al Nassr. This is a brilliant approach to team development. Reliable, like a Swiss watch. MU also aims to sell Marcus Rashford, but his situation is even more complex. Rashford reconciled with Amari and rejoined the club's application yesterday, but he is unlikely to accept a transfer to Al Nassr. Fichajes writes that Barca has refused the player, as have the other top clubs. And now Marcus has only two options, either to go to Turkey or to Saudi Arabia. Of course, you can still fight for a role on the stage of the Dream Theater, but in this case, it's not worth hinting at your departure. Cristiano Ronaldo still hasn't won any significant trophies with Al Nassr. The Arab Champions Cup is considered a friendly. This situation is evidently not to the Portuguese's liking, who has won the championship with all his teams. Sporting, Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Juventus. Chris is making every effort to win the title with Al Nassr, but it hasn't panned out so far. Last season, Al Hilal was head and shoulders above all other Saudi teams. Both Al and Tahadi have faced a decline. The team has bounced back and now leads the league. Al Hilal is 2 points behind. Al Nassr is in 4th place, 11 points behind Al leader. There's no smell of a title here. Cristiano is already fed up with this. According to Marca, Ronaldo plans to continue his career. But if he doesn't win the title with Al Nassr, he will leave for a new challenge. Where to? In my opinion, Sporting would be the ideal option. A legendary return, absolute fan love, and serious chances for the title. Yes, even without Amarima. Victor Dakaris will leave the team during the winter or summer transfer window, and Lisbon will need a new forward. Although Krish may surprise with his choice of team and return to the 1005 champions. If he finds a similar option, obviously a club with money and from the Champions League is needed. According to Krish's data, he no longer really believes in the Al Nassr title and is ready to change the subscription already in winter. He agrees to a transfer to Manchester City, and the citizens seem to not be against signing him. First of all, it's always pleasant to sting MU. Secondly, Krish carries a bunch of economic bonuses with him. Thirdly, Holland needs a change. So why not? Moreover, Erling's style is very similar to Krish's, unless Holland is also a pressing machine. Guardiola clearly won't be demanding pressing from Ronaldo. And he's coming up with something to level out the low workability of Chris without the ball. But with him at Ronaldo's feet, it's still useful. After his American Premier League comeback, Chris will be highly motivated to prove he can still perform at the highest level, giving his all on the field. Haaland pulls out his defenders with rawness for 70 minutes. Then Ronaldo enters and makes a difference in tough matches. The main thing is that Chris agrees to the role of Joker. Another finance question. But the Sheikhs do not skimp on City A. For today, that's all. Thank you for watching and for subscribing to the channel. Friends, once again, I congratulate you on the new year. I wish you all the best in 2025. And most importantly, peaceful sky above your head. My name is Kirill Cast, and this was your daily dose of football. Johanga, friends.